Hi all, it's me again, and it's been a bit since the last devlog, and that's mostly due to the fact that I was back in college and I had things to do and all that. However, that doesn't mean I stopped working on the game. In fact, there's been a lot of changes since last time, so let's just speed through this intro and get into the devlog proper. Oh, and before we start the video, make sure to like and subscribe so you can keep up with any updates on the game. I also have an Instagram page where I post more things such as art and more snippets of what I've been working on. The goal I had in mind in the first devlog was to get a playable demo out by the time the second one came out. That obviously didn't happen, so this time that was my big goal, and nothing was going to stop me. And so, I began going in and adding in the ideas I had in the previous devlog, where the player had copy abilities. And I made like 3 of them before I had to stop and think about things for a second. See, the thing is, I want this game to take inspiration from the Mega Man series, which means I want 8 levels with 8 bosses each, with each boss offering a new ability with limited uses. Adding copy abilities to the mix would make it so that the boss abilities would be sort of obsolete, since why would players use something that has limited uses when a copy ability doesn't have that restriction? I could just change my game idea to have multiple worlds and levels just like in Kirby, but I'm not going to do that simply because that would take way more development time, and the whole idea behind this game is that I just want to release something for once. So I scrapped the copy ability idea, and then I was back to square one again, needing to find a new gameplay mechanic. And I was worried that this would be another game stuck in purgatory simply because I couldn't make up my mind. No, I refuse to let it end like this. I'm not going to overcomplicate things. I already have a 3-hit combo attack in place when you have the dragon ability. That's fun to use, so I'm going to take that and make that the default attacking method. You can still pick up and throw enemies once you're defeated, but that's it. As for the homing ability, it's too overpowered at the moment, so I'm relegating that to ability you get from a boss, which means no more shell for the player. And since the dragon ability is now the default ability, the player might as well be part dragon, which means and there, the player's new combat movement. Now let's get to work on other things and never have to redo this ever again. And while I was at it, I decided to change the game's color palette to look more like an actual children's drawing. I think it turned out really well, and I think it makes the game look a lot better visually. And so, with the player's new combat, fighting enemies was much more fun. But there was a slight problem. Touching enemies still hurt you, which is something you have to do in this now beat-em-up 3D platformer I've created. So I changed it so that enemies will no longer damage you via contact, but by the attacks they dish out. This led to a change in enemy design since most enemy attacks is just them walking up to you. So I made some new ones. This is your standard enemy. I call him Tough Bunny. They'll just walk up to you and attempt to bite you. This game was also lacking some aerial enemies, so I made one. This one's name is Dive in Avery, and as the name suggests, this one will dive at you from above when close enough. And after that, I made this spinning enemy that cannot be knocked back, is bouncing all over the place, and will continue to do so until they randomly decide to use a sword to attack everything in their radius. Earlier, I said I wanted to make a demo by the time this devlog comes out. And my idea of a demo means that it should showcase what level design will be like, what combat will be like, and also it should showcase what boss battles will be like. So I began working on a boss battle. I wanted my first boss to be the polar opposite of my main character. And since my main character is a dragon, it's obvious what I should make the first boss. A princess, since everybody knows princes and dragons are like mongoose, and mongoose and snakes. I spent some time designing the boss, and here she is. Her name is Princess Melanie. I decided to make her look like a rabbit because 1, the standard enemy in the game is a rabbit, so the person commanding these rabbits should be one too. And 2, I just really like rabbits. They're my favorite animal, what can I say? With the boss design out of the way, it was time to work on the attacks. Since this is a tutorial level, they should only have 3 attacks. In one attack, they chase you around with their giant hammer, and then smack the ground, making spears come out. In attack 2, they'll jump around and create a shockwave when they hit the floor. And in attack 3, they'll summon 3 tough bunnies to help take you down. Of course, this will backfire since you can just throw them back at them for much more damage. And that's the boss done for. Next was smaller things. like making a chest that gives you rewards for getting to them, improving a checkpoint to look nicer, a fake wall that you can break to get into a secret room, and bubbles that you can attack for an extra bounce. And now there are also battle zones in which you'll have to defeat waves of enemies to progress. I even added more combat mechanics. Instead of just a regular attack, you now have a light and heavy attack. The light attack is better for fighting enemies one-on-one, while the heavy attack has more range and knockback, which is better for a group of enemies. And with all these new additions, you might think development was smooth sailing. No. Entire days are spent fixing bugs and errors that stem from things like the ground detection being wrong, wall collisions not working, and basically a bunch of other issues that would have been trivialized if I had just used a 3D game engine. And multiple times I thought to myself, I should just change game engines and it would simplify this whole process. But then I realized, I'm stubborn, and no game engine is going to tell me what I can and can't do. So I did it. I hate this idea. End me please. Next, I wanted to work on cutscenes and dialogue. This was a very simple process since I made a system in the RPG I was trying to make. However, this time, I wanted to make the dialogue more like the one you see in Kid Icarus, where you see the full body and pose of the character, instead of just their face in a box. And so, I spent some time making up some poses for the boss and the player talking to each other. And here we can see that in action. Music is really important for a game. Unfortunately, I can't do that properly, so I just avoided the topic of music altogether. However, one day while browsing through Steam, I saw something called 1-Bit Dragon, a music making program tailor-made for people who can't make music. And it was on sale. So I thought, surely this is a sign that I should get it right here and now. So I did. And I spent a majority of the day trying it out and trying to make something with it. And here's what I came up with. You can skip here in case you don't care about that stuff, but it's whatever, you know, I worked very hard on this, and if you don't want to see it, then fine, I don't care, I don't care. I finally had some more music in the game. However, this led to another problem. With all this music now in the game, I can barely hear my Christianic Comprehensive History by Geno Samuel playing in the background. So I think it was about time for me to add settings to the game. Luckily for me, there was a video from Friendly Cosmonaut that can help me with just that. And so I finally had a settings menu in place, complete with audio settings and controller settings. Which means if you guys don't like where I place my controls, you can change it. I mean, I'll just be deeply offended if you do so, but you can change it. The game also really needed some more sound effects, but I really don't feel like doing that since it's a long and boring process. And it's not needed for the demo or anything like that, so we can put that aside for now, right? We'll get back to that later. But what is important is the cool new thing I added to combat. You know how in fighting games there's a series of buttons and directional inputs that will lead to a certain move depending on the input? I somewhat added that into my game. For example, pressing a light aerial attack into a heavy aerial attack will lead to this uppercut punch, which is useful as a second double jump. And if you press 2 light attacks in a row into a heavy attack, it will lead into a spinning kick. Interesting, right? These probably won't be available to start in the main game, but it's here for you guys to test out for yourself. This is a demo, and a tutorial level, so obviously I need to tell you all the controls. So I did just that. It's the bar at the top of the screen, nothing too fancy. The last thing I worked on is the intro cutscene. It's going to serve as sort of a backstory as for why you're doing this, and where this all takes place, and I spent a long time working on it. Please take a look. Wasn't that really neat? And the very last thing I did was make an itch page for the game. I had to make art for the thumbnail, the banner, the background, as well as getting screenshots to showcase on the page. It was a long process, but the page is finally finished. And that's all. I hope you guys like the additions and changes I made to the game. And this time you'll be able to try it out for yourself. On my itch page, there should now be a playable demo for the game. Please play it and let me know if you guys find any errors that I haven't found. I would very much appreciate it. Also, if you're getting something that says that your computer is saying that this is some sort of virus, I promise you it's not. It's just that there's nothing I can really do about it. Believe me, I've looked it up and I've tried. I probably won't work on the game for a bit, just so that I can fix problems that come up after playtesting, instead of adding new things that might make certain problems pop up. I might join a game jam or two and make a video based off that. I don't know. But that's all for this time. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and happy playtesting all. Bye.